All right, so welcome back. For those who haven't been here before, welcome. So I've been noticing in 4.7 in the PTU, we've seen a lot of people that are showing mining on planets and so forth. I figured I'd take a little bit of a different route and actually show mining in the air and Halo. Mining on the planets is fine and all. However, the problem is you cannot find every ore on every planet. You're very limited by the location. So, for instance, Microtech only shows like copper and tin and maybe a couple other things, whereas the Iron Halo seems to do just about everything. Obviously, a little longer to find stuff. So, as you can see in the bottom right, I've already done some mining before I started recording just because I wanted to make sure everything was working properly. With that being said, now we're looking through the new system for mining actually has the ore has quality values. So 500 is basically your break even 0 point. Anything below that adds negative attributes to whatever arm or weapon you create. Anything over 500 adds positives to it. So what we're looking for is basically things over 500. As you can see, I've got some hephistonite there, and I've got some silicon already that are over 500. So the range is basically up to about 1,000 quality. I think 999 or something like that. So here we're looking at some azlerite, which can be used in, I want to say, I think armor. And basically we're just looking for something over 500. So everything there is under 5. There we go. We've got 527 agricium. And then we've got 538 agricium, or azlerite, and titanium. So we'll go ahead and take that one first. Now, instability plays a major role now. As you can see, this one has pretty high instability at 235. So it's a little trickier sometimes, especially with smaller rocks. I'm currently using a prospector with a Hofstede and a Riger C3 just to give me a little more stability. But as you can see, this makes some pretty big jumps. And as you can see there, it can jump in the red pretty quick. So we'll go ahead and let this cool down. Let it get back out of the green so that it starts dropping. We'll wait for the red to come down enough that we can pick up and continue. Alright, and now we'll go ahead and bring it back up. So we'll go a little more cautiously this time. And remember, you can also use the distance as part of your power equation. So even if you're 100%, the farther you get away from it, the less power it's going to have. So you could use that in combination with the laser power itself to keep it stable. The prospector trick with the mole bags is still working, so I've currently got 48 SCU. Some of you might have seen previous videos where I took the golem out in the C2 with extra bags, and that's still a valid strategy. However, if you just want to take out one ship, then I'd recommend going for the prospector instead with the 48 SCU. It's not going to be quite as much as having 6 or 8 sets of bags, but it's still pretty decent. They've actually changed the way you refine as well. So we're only getting probably around 30% refinement. So basically 30% of what you refine is what you get to keep. So big hit there. But you can actually do basically multiple work orders. Like if you want to do one for higher end ore and then one for lower end ore, you can. You might ask, why would I want to do lower end ore? So if you're going to use the 500 ore, or 500 plus quality ore. You can use that for armor, weapons, so forth. And eventually, I'm guessing other stuff as well, components and so forth, eventually when they're released. But you can still take the lower end stuff and refine it and sell it. Or you can actually set up your refinery order and then immediately sell in the refinery selling station the actual stuff you don't want. And you actually have to sell some of it because your bags won't empty otherwise. So that's a big change because before you could only refine everything, or you could only create one work order, and everything would be gone when you started the work order. So now whatever you don't refine remains in your bags. So that includes inert material. In my experience so far, you could theoretically take and refine the 500 plus ores and then sell whatever's left. And in most cases, on average, I've been getting about 2,000 credits for it, which is a lot of times enough to pay for the refinery fee. You'll notice here I also went ahead and picked up the stuff that was purple so that I could actually, just in case something cracked or popped and exploded, I wouldn't lose everything. And then I'm going back and re-breaking the secondary stuff. And then we're just kind of working our way through it. So basically, as I break each rock, I'll pick up whatever I can, and then I'll move on to the next chunk or move on to the next batch of rocks. So a lot's changing. Apparently, there's been some armor updates as well, where lower end lasers aren't necessarily getting through higher end armor and shields. But mainly, I focus on the industrial side of it, so that's where most of my gameplay is going to be at. So you think we'll go for the 100%er first? Alright, let's see. Get up here in the green. Like I said, it's all pretty unstable. So you want to be careful with lazurite. Primarily what you're looking at in this initial round is probably aluminum, azurite. I think it's alright or something. Starts with an O. That's used for armor. Iron, and some other basic materials. And then obviously, as you pick up blueprints, then you'll be able to make other stuff. You'll need other materials and so forth. I have actually broken out the fabricator, went and did a bunker, and dismantled weapons. And you do recover materials from it. However, it's not very much at all. Alright, we'll go ahead and get this last one broke here. Well, actually, this one, and I can't remember if the next one has something in it. We'll have to see. Now, obviously, one of the issues that's going to happen is as you're refining or mining and then refining different qualities, you're going to find that you have a lot of different small batches of ore. So I think the last pickup I did, I had a lot of 1SU crates that weren't even full. So that's one thing to look at, and you'll have to decide if that's worth it to you or not. Some of the blueprints don't really require a lot of something, so in some cases you might be fine. I'm not sure yet whether you can combine different qualities. I wouldn't think so. I think you pretty much have to have one quality the whole way through, at least on each different ore. And that one's a little bit of Grisium, but I don't know if that's worth bothering. Probably not. Yeah, I think that's going to be... Yeah, we can always try it and see what happens. Maybe we'll get a good break here. I have seen in some cases getting pretty good break where the majority of the ore is in one chunk. So we'll see what happens. Again, when you're dealing with this kind of instability, you want to take it up slow. It doesn't take hardly anything to end up in the red, and that's definitely not something we want. I haven't done a lot of mining in um, Pyro or Nyx yet, but I hear the quality is a lot higher there, so that might be something to look into. I know some people that have been mining around Terminus, and they're getting pretty good return on it. I think a lot of once this drops, a lot of it is going to be kind of a race to get ore and crafting blueprints. So from what I can tell so far, the blueprints are going to be contract based. So you do contracts, you get the blueprints. I'm sure there'll be other ways. Um, there's some sites out there now that tell you how to get them. If I remember, I'll go ahead and link it. See if we can find the next one. Now, when I'm in the air in Halo, a lot of times what I'll do is I'll look around and find the next closest one, and then I'll go to there. If I happen to see one where it's two clusters close together, sometimes I'll go after that. So like this case right here, where we got two 13K out, so that should put them fairly close together. And we're sitting just a little around half full. So we'll get the rest of it filled up and then go refine it. And take a look and see what the two of them are. You usually got to get down under 3,000 or 3 kilometers. Sometimes under 2.5. There we go. We got barrel there. They've really done a good job of making it so that pretty much everything is useful now. Not necessarily for selling, but definitely for crafting, because from what I understand, pretty much all materials are going to be used in some way, shape, or form. Go ahead and take a look at this titanium and see what we got. So nothing there. Now, obviously, if you're running a golem in the C2 or something like that, then you could probably make use of a lot of this stuff. If not else, you could refine it and sell it for money. Oh, there we go. We got 75% titanium at 529 and some azlerite to boot and some agricium. So this will be good rock. Now, I have found that when it says impossible, it pretty well is so far. Now, with that being said, a lot of times before you turn your laser on, it will tell you impossible. And then once you hit it with the laser, sometimes it'll change to like challenging or medium even, depending on the composition and what you're using. So far, I've still found that the Hofstede with the Riger seems to work best for me, at least in the Prospector. Now, obviously, in the Golem, you have that built-in, that standard laser that comes with it that I'm pretty sure you still can't change yet. So that's going to be a different challenge there. I like the Hofstede because it gives me that low end at 5%, so I can actually do secondary brakes a lot easier. Go ahead and take a look at them. There's a good chunk of titanium at least. You can see so far I've collected about 10 SCU of azlerite, so I'll probably end up getting about 3 or 4 SCU of azlerite out after that. And then whatever little smaller amounts and the lesser, since the tracking system there only does the top 4 by quantity. There's a nice chunk of titanium and azlerite. That's a good one. And stability is not too bad since it's mostly titanium. So even if I let this one run, it should still be alright. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and get this picked up. Move on to the next chunk. I've been actually playing in the PTU quite a bit the last couple days, and stability has been really good actually. I haven't been seeing some of the problems I used to have. Obviously, PTU is a little off, so usually it's not as good. So I'm hopeful that with as well as the PTUs running, that once this goes to live, it should be pretty good. And Star Citizen has gotten a lot more stable. So alright, so about 3/4 full. See what else we got here. So 58%. 79. So that'll probably be the next one to go. Go ahead and get this one broke and collected. I really think it's going to come into even little bits of ore can be useful for some things. So you're pretty much not going to want to waste any space if you can help it. With that being said, in some cases you're going to find high quality ore, maybe not as large of a cluster as you want, in which case you may still need to grab it. Now obviously that might change if you're going to pyro and finding better quality ore overall. But but I mean, theoretically you could get pretty much everything for the most part, with exception of a few things, I think, that you would have to go to pyro or somewhere else for. I would not bank too much on buying ore from others, just because the economy is still so jacked up right now. When you figure pieces of armor are selling for billions, I would imagine decent ore is going to be expensive as can be. And I haven't heard anything about SIG planning on resetting or doing a complete wipe. So obviously, I'm pretty sure any ore you have stored is probably going to get wiped just because of the new update with the ore. So if you're holding on to that, I would probably sell it. I can't see how they would possibly let you keep commodities, because there'd be no way to pick and choose what quality you should have. I mean, I guess theoretically they could just default it all to 500, but I don't see them doing that. Alright, so even though I've got some here that are showing decent amounts, if it's got a lot of inert, I'm not sure I want to take it. But we'll definitely take batches like that. You know, it's kind of funny. Just a couple months ago, you come across an ore that's titanium based mainly, and you just be like, nope, moving on. You know, now it's kind of go ahead and take it because you're probably going to need some of them base ores. Alright, let's see. Yeah, maybe. Do I want to take that? Yeah, let's go ahead and grab it. Alright, and now I think I had this barrel up here, so let's go ahead and top up with it if it's any good. Pretty sure I don't have any barrel yet. So far I've gotten a lot of azlerite, titanium, silicon. I think I've even got some ice, some copper, some tin, some iron. Alright, let's see what we got here. Alright, so there we go. We got 658, it looks like. That's 64%. That should be getting a chunk there. We've got about 9 SEU of space left. You can see with the Hofstede, this thing is a little green there. Not a lot there, but it stability-wise is not too bad. You don't have a lot of room to work. There we go. Just a little patience. There's 100%. pretty good break. We can get as much of it as we can here. May or may not get to that other rock. That's inert. Don't want that. And 55. Let's see what else we got here. There's another 100. And definitely don't want that. We go check this other rock here. See what we can do. See how it says impossible right now. I haven't actually turned the laser on yet. So you'll notice now it just says challenging. Now that is a lot of instability. So we're going to have to be careful, especially with that small window. And there it is in the red. Let's go ahead and just try to get it back into the green a little bit. So some of these are going to take a little finessing. So you want to just kind of keep it in the first half if you can. Try not to go too far in. Just enough to keep it going. It's definitely being stubborn. I'll have to keep it a little more about halfway. Just kind of feather it back and forth. There we go. And so we've got at least one that's going to need broke. And that's 100% barrel. Let's see, I've only got about 3 SCU left. Looks like all of it's going to need broke. That's 1750. That's 500. So let's see what we got here. Looks like 1300. So we'll probably go with the 17 first. It's 100% barrel. So we'll try to use distance to help mitigate the instability. Try to get it up there and then kind of creep it in. All right, almost there. There we go. See if we can just keep it in there now. There we go. That theoretically should be enough to fill up. Let's see here. It looks like we've got about 6 SCUs so far. Should be roughly about 7 by the time we're done. Roughly. Maybe. Yep, maybe not. Looks like this is actually different. Different quality here. Alright, and it looks like we're full. Alright, so at this point we'll head back to the station. I will say I know, just because this has already been ran, and I'm just voicing it over right now, we did, I was not able to get to the refinery just because of a glitch. So much for running right. So I logged out and then came back in at some point later and refined it all. But the refining itself went no problem. So that's my take on mining in the Iron Halo 4.7. If you have any questions or concerns, go ahead and let me know. Otherwise, thank you for watching and have a nice day.